So we've got some pretty good news for those of you that are in pursuit of either the 11,000 free doubloons or the Tier 8 Premium American Light Cruiser San Diego this week. You see, this week, well, this Wednesday, will mark the 4th week of the In the Name of Tomorrow event. If you are unaware, the In the Name of Tomorrow event is the event celebrating the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, and Wargaming went and cranked out 3 new operations for this event specifically. And for the past 3 weeks, we've had 1 operation active for that week, but now that we're getting to the 4th week, this Wednesday, these operations are going to go into a random rotation, meaning that you can replay all 3 of them. It's just going to be at random, right? And with that, Wargaming has gone and lifted a lot of the restrictions on these modes. Previously, with Arctic Convoy, Tokyo Express, and Pacific Offensive, the game was pretty stringent in what ships you could take. Arctic Convoy, for example, you couldn't take any American ships because America wasn't in the war just yet at that point. Tokyo Express, you couldn't take any British or French ships. And for the Pacific Offensive, you can only take American, British, French, and Commonwealth ships. But starting this Wednesday, now you can take Tier 7 to Tier 9 ships that are American, British, Soviet, French, Dutch, Pan-American, Pan-Asian, Italian for some reason. I know they swapped sides halfway through the war, so I guess that's what they're going for. European, and then, of course, the Commonwealth ships. Now, that means for Arctic Convoy, for example, which was previously a Tier 6 and Tier 7 operation, obviously that unlocks, 2 more tiers for you to use in that operation. And, Tier 8 and Tier 9 ships are quite potent. So, what we're going to do in today's top 5 video is go over my top 5 suggestions for this rotation. So these are the ships I would highly recommend you guys take into this rotation of these operations. These ships will definitely breeze through these operations like it's nothing, and it'll make it a whole hell of a lot easier for you to get those last bit of stars that you need in order to collect those free 11,000 doubloons or that San Diego. Keep in mind too, as you're going through these operations, the battles you are playing are counting toward the dry dock, they're counting toward the GQ Johnny missions, and they're counting toward your Grand Voyage missions as well. So like you're doing all this and you're earning not only the 11,000 doubloons or the San Diego for the In the Name of Tomorrow, you're earning the GQ Johnny, you're working on your Laffy Dockyard, and you're earning those free doubloons or steals. So yeah, these ships will do you good in this operation rotation system that they're bringing in this Wednesday. So let's go ahead and get going. Coming in at number 5, we have the Tier 9 Premium American, not a battle cruiser, but maybe a battle cruiser, the Alaska. So the Alaska is a very popular ship. I'm sure most of you watching it either have the OG Alaska, or you've probably picked up like an Alaska B during Black Friday. Those two are exactly the same, so whatever I say about Alaska, it's the same ship, right? So the Alaska is fantastic for these operations for a number of reasons. One, of course, you get those 305mm guns with the improved AP or with the HE. Now, of course, with the HE, that's great for murdering, these destroyers, because most of the time in these operations, you are dealing with, low to mid-tier ships, and a lot of destroyers, in particular in Tokyo Express and in Pacific Offensive. So you've got that good HE with the pretty darn good accuracy of the Alaska, although in the background footage, my Alaska gunners were drunk. But Alaska is normally a fairly accurate ship from my experience, except for, well, of course, when I needed footage for it for this video, right? So yeah, you can either just god slap the mid-tier cruisers that you're going to be running across with the AP, bully the destroyers with the HE, and on top of all that, you still get radar, you get hydro, you get the Alaska hull, which is a really, really tanky cruiser hull, all in one bundle. So for like Tokyo Express, it's night, it's dark, you got the night detection mechanics going on. You can pop radar, spot those destroyers. It's also really good in Pacific Offensive because the destroyers in Pacific Offensive love to smoke up. And one of the objectives in Pacific Offensive is to, make sure that no destroyers get within 3 kilometers of the San Diego. So if they do try to pop up and, try to edge their way in there, you can pop radar, spot them, and then bully them to death. So fantastic ship for these operations, and just a great ship all in all. Alaska is one of my personal most favorite ships in the game, and there's a very good reason for that. So yeah, you've got great AP, great HE, great utility, great survivability in the Alaska, and if you don't have one, I would highly recommend you guys pick up one when she does come back for sale for Black Friday. Probably one of the single best usage of your dollary dues in the game. So that's the Alaska at number 5. Moving on our way down now to number 4, we have the Techline Tier 9 Pan-American battleship, the Los Andes. I was very excited to see that they're allowing Pan-American ships in these operations this coming Wednesday, because the Los Andes, man, so many of these operations are essentially, well, all of them essentially are just like wave defense operations. You have to do, a certain a series of objectives or whatever, while being ambushed by, lower tier destroyers and mid tier cruisers, and then later on in most of the later bits of the operations, you might get some higher tier ships mixed in there. Like they just love to throw a random Musashi in these operations. Like, oh, here's a Musashi, boys, have fun. But anyway, yeah. So since so many of these operations are simply, just fighting off waves of destroyers and cruisers, it pays to have a ship that's got some pretty darn good secondaries, and that is most definitely the Los Andes, which I'm sure most of you are very familiar with the Los Andes, but if you're not familiar with the Los Andes and the Pan American battleships, they get extremely heavy cruiser guns as secondary guns. They get those 220 millimeter secondary guns, which naturally just destroy destroyers and cruisers. And on top of that, too, you get the funny F button that gets built up by getting main battery gun hits and potential damage. Now, I'm not sure how most of you found the first operation, but man, Arctic Convoy, it feels like those ships really just had it out for me for most of that operation. So in that one, yeah, you're not going to have any problem filling up that potential damage bar with the Los Andes at all. Same with the Pacific Offensive towards the end, when you've got all those ships spawning in, and you either have to cap the cap or not run away, or sink all of the enemy ships. Yeah, Los Andes is definitely going to be thriving there, on top of having her 15-inch guns to bully these ships with. And ships again, like unless they pull the thing where like you take the higher tier ships, more. Not necessarily a high tier cruisers and destroyers might spawn, but you're probably gonna support tier 7 and tier 8s in there. But like if it's the normal operation with maybe just more ships, 15-inch guns are more than enough to bully those mid-tier cruisers and such. So yeah, Los Andes is great. And if you do have, of course, Joachim on your Los Andes, the commander skills do work in these operations. So after you get 175 main and secondary battery gun hits, you'll be able to pop his Master Commander skill, which you get that big buff to the reload time of your main battery guns and your secondary guns. So yeah, definitely well worth it if you don't have the Los Andes. But most of you watching this channel probably most certainly do have a Los Andes sitting around. So yeah, that should be an easy ship to just walk over all these bots. And maybe you'll be able to actually 4 or 5-star Arctic Convoy with the Los Andes, and you won't have to depend upon your team to do what they're supposed to do in that case. But anyway, going our way down now to number 3 is a ship that I've mentioned before when talking about these operations, the Tier 8 Premium American Aircraft Carrier, the Hornet. Now I know you may be thinking, Sealord, a CV, really? But look, like, Hornet is so friggin' good in Tokyo Express. Like, it's a ship that if you've got a halfway decent Hornet player in it, you can easily 4-star Tokyo Express with just the Hornet. Like, first off, you can spot the enemy destroyers. Turns out you can't spot the key destroyers, but you can spot the other destroyers. And one of the secondary objectives in Tokyo Express is sink, I think it's 7 enemy ships that aren't spotted by the illumination flares. That's so easy to do with a CV, right? Let alone, of course, the Hornet. So you just fly over those ships, let your friendly teammates sink them. There you go. That's an easy one to get done. And then another one is like, have one ship that's unspotted the entire time. CV is naturally going to be unspotted because being, hiding in the back of the map behind an island or something. There's another star there. And then you've got the, sink the Musashi in a certain amount of time. Hornet is so freaking good for dealing with Musashi. You hit it with a couple of rounds of the torpedo planes, it's going to get a flood. The bot's going to pop the damage hunt for the flood. You bring in those freaking B-25s, just carpet bomb the living crap out of the Musashi. You probably get like 10, 12k alpha damage, set 2 or 3 fires on the Musashi. You bring the torpedo planes back around. Now that thing's on fire, you set some more floods on it, and it's gone in absolutely no time. So there's 3 stars there. And that's just the 3 stars that the Hornet can pull off by itself, basically. So you throw in like a team that doesn't just die instantly, and you're probably going to get a 4-star mission, if not a 5-star mission, by just using the Hornet. Now, the Hornet's also fairly decent in the other modes too. You can use it right now in Pacific Offensive, and it seems to work decently well there. The B-25s just decimate the forts, and of course those poor, Mutsus and Fusos that spawn, you just absolutely walk all over them. So it's pretty decent in Pacific Offensive, although things do get a little hairy toward the end for it. So, but for the fact that it can just carry so hard in Tokyo Express, I mean, that's definitely worth it in and of itself. Arctic Convoy, of course, I haven't been able to play it in that one just yet, but I mean, like, the Hornet itself is a good CV, so pretty much no matter what, it's going to be at least a pretty good to decent asset on your team. And then again, in the Tokyo Express mission, you can just carry so freaking hard with it. It's crazy. So yeah, Hornet, cannot recommend that enough for at least Tokyo Express. All right, going our way down now to number 2, we have the Tier 9 Premium. Well, it's actually a coal ship. Coal Pan-European battleship, the Karl XIV Johan. Karl XIV Johan, again, just another excellent Tier 9 premium ship, but like I mentioned earlier, any good secondary ship is going to do fantastic here, and Karl XIV Johan is a very, very good secondary battleship. Now, yes, it doesn't have the longest secondary battery gun range, but the range that you're taking part in these operations at, it's pretty dang close, especially again in like Pacific Offensive. And the Karl XIV Johan secondaries with a full build definitely can get it done in these operations. So not only does it have all these secondary guns that can bully these low tier destroyers, mid tier cruisers, whatever combination they're going to throw at you. You also get the 13.5 kilometer torpedoes. The Pan-European torpedoes. They have good range. They have excellent speed, but they have mediocre damage, but a good reload time on the torpedo tubes. And again, you're going to be seeing, ships that are several tiers lower than you. So while sure, the torps don't have the best alpha damage for a Tier 9 ship, when it's running into, like a Tier 6 cruiser or destroyer, it's got more than enough oomph to definitely ruin that poor bot's day. So the Johan is great for that. It's also a pretty tough ship. With its armor scheme, naturally, you do get a bunch of the gear guns for the main battery guns, which, yeah, they're not the largest caliber guns that are strapped into a battleship, but again, when you're dealing with a bunch of mid-tier cruisers and destroyers, they definitely can get it done. So, like, Karl XIV, I can imagine in Pacific Offensive is going to be a fantastic ship to use to bully those destroyers, because, like I said, that operation loves to pop destroyers like 5-6 kilometers in front of you. Does also have hydroacoustic search too, so you can walk toward the smoke screen, spot those destroyers, let your secondaries, let your main battery guns absolutely rip them apart. There's some torpedoes at the battleships when they when they spawn in, and when the Musashi does spawn in at the end, if you want to, you can just go kind of walk up to it, shove some bunch of torpedoes into its side, blast its broadside with your gear guns, and laugh and walk away as the ship does sink. So it's, again, great premium ship, great coal ship, one of the few quote-unquote new coal ships, right? So excellent in these operations, excellent in random battles as well, just like the Hornet and pretty much every ship that we've talked about so far. But speaking about talking about ships so far, we have the number 1 slot, which is occupied by the Tier 9 Premium American battleship, the Georgia. The Georgia is just, I mean, we all know how good the Georgia is. You've probably ran across more than a few of them in random battles, because despite being removed from sales so long ago, the ship is still absolutely everywhere because of how good it is. The Georgia gets 6 18-inch guns, 457mm main battery guns, and some absolutely amazing secondary guns. You get the American turbocharged secondary guns with the improved reload time, the improved accuracy, on a hull that can, if you have the speed flag and the speed boost going at the same time, go 40 friggin' knots. So this is a battleship that travels at 40 knots, armed with 18-inch guns, and great secondaries. So needless to say, this ship is amazing at these operations. Now, we've only really been able to use it so far in the Pacific Express. I'm putting two together now, in the Pacific Offensive operation that started last week, and oh my god, the amount of mid-tier Japanese cruisers that I have just been deleting in like one click. It's cathartic. It feels so good. You get that nice dopamine dump to your brain when you just obliterate some poor Maya, right? It's so fun. It's so good. And of course, the secondary guns, those American 127mm guns, are great at chewing up destroyers, light cruisers, and chewing their way through the battleship superstructure and setting fires on the Mutsus and the Congos that spawn. It's such a good ship. It's so good for this mode, and it absolutely vibe checks the fortresses. Again, when you eat 6 18-inch shells to the face, there's only so much fortress that can survive that interaction, and it's such a good time. And when the Musashi spawns at the end of Pacific Offensive, you just walk up to it, shove 6 18-inch shells into its cheek, watch the Musashi explode, and there you go. So then that's just in Pacific Offensive. I can imagine this thing in Arctic Convoy and Tokyo Express. This thing absolutely just running down destroyers in Tokyo Express, sprinting toward the Musashi, deleting it from existence, and then laughing as it goes on its merry way. So yeah, like that's what I've been using so far for Pacific Offensive, and it is working fantastically well. Now, Georgia, of course, has not been available for some time. If you don't have a Georgia, a good substitute is the Flanders. I talked about that earlier last week. Flanders, of course, with all of your secondary guns with IFHE, they can pin destroyers. So, you can load that thing up with a secondary build, go into really any of these operations, and you will bully the ever-living crap out of the destroyers and cruisers that you are going to see, because the amount of secondary guns that the Flanders has, and with, of course, the absurd reload time those secondary gunners do get with a full build. So Flanders could be another allied secondary ship replacement there for Georgia, but Georgia is just so good. If you have her, you should definitely be using her, at least in the Pacific Offensive right now, and definitely when the operations start to rotate this Wednesday. So guys, those are my suggestions to you guys for when these operations start to rotate this Wednesday. These are just my suggestions. I've used all these guys in these operations so far, and they have been working fantastically well. So if you guys have any suggestions for those watching, let us know that in the comments down below. What ships would you remove from this list? What ships would you add to it? All of that jazz and more. If you liked what you saw here, please make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It helps out tremendously so on the YouTube side of things, of course, appeasing our algorithm overlords. That's unfortunately most of doing YouTube nowadays. But anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoy. Have a wonderful Monday, wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.